war against coronavirus. And when we're in a war, you fight with the weapons you have. And right now, our only weapons are distancing, face coverings, hand washing, surface disinfection, and avoiding large gatherings of people. And I think the other thing to remember too is that our battlefront is with the coronavirus. It's not with each other. And that is all I have. I'm happy to take questions.
Now, we're going to do here the questions. Thank you, Megan, for the presentation. Thank you, Charlotte, for your work on that. There's numerous groups here in the room that want to present today, the Labor Day, the event people and those people. So, and some have permission from their employer to come down for a period of time and do this and then return. So, with that said, I will take questions and comments on this slide at the same time we do any questions and comments on the presentation so we can move along. And with that said, there's the Labor Day events review, and one committee asked me to take a jump in early. And Jason, you're up next. You and your group for the rodeo. Could you come forward to the mic up here and go ahead and come forward, and the mic's right here on the top of this. Don't touch the mic.
Okay.
It's that little square, looks like a, that one right there. If you go ahead and explain what you have. I've got a copy of it too, your rodeo committee program. If you kind of go down through it, bullet by bullet quick. Does the committee have those? They were sent to you. Do you have those copies? No, you don't. You have it on right in your head. Okay.
I have some extras.
Okay, kind of speak up, so, and stand right there near that little mic right there. Kind of speak up and go ahead and go down through that and explain your efforts to provide safety and that to both the spectators and the contestants and anybody involved in that could be for the upcoming rodeo.
Well, I want to first off thank Sue and Tom. They took time out of their very busy schedules and met with me at the bank. I know they have their own opinions about the rodeo, but still gave us suggestions on things we can add to our proposal today. If we just want to go bullet by bullet, we would screen all contestants and take their tent. They all use one contestant gate. You know, we would be nervous about them because they've been traveling to other rodeos that haven't been canceled throughout the state and the country. So that would be something we thought would help. Our total capacity is between 3,500 and 4,000. Last year we had like 3,700 at the night rodeo on Saturday. We would have a hard count of 1,500 tickets sold and rope off seating areas throughout the fairgrounds. Tactical security would be on site to enforce any violators. And if there were violators, they'd be asked to leave. We'd also place signage throughout the facility and have multiple announcements about the guidelines of social distancing and other COVID preventative measures that can be taken during the performance. We would add hand wash stations throughout the spectator area, hand sanitizer stations, worked with the fair board to put them on all of the hand railings before you enter the seating areas. We'll disinfect after each performance for the next day. We would highly recommend any spectators to bring their own masks, and if we are able to get some, which I've talked with the distributor in town, that we can get as many as we need before the rodeo, we would have some on site if needed. We'd recommend people that high risk, if they did want to come, and you know, if they really wanted to put themselves at risk, we would have gloves and other preventatives on stand. The concession stand would follow the county health department and Montana state guidelines. We would ask the volunteers to wear masks and gloves and put the plexiglass stitch shields between the concession workers and the spectators. We would ask that no volunteers go in and out of the concession stands, and we would just lock those doors. It would be an easy fix. And no public condiments. We'd get packaged ketchup and mustard and all those. We'd again advertise, if you have health issues, please refrain from entering the rodeo grounds and stay home. Do us all the favor. The PRC, which I've sent to the health board, there's a 30-page document out there that They've developed for COVID, ground rules and policies. And again, we clean the restrooms and porta potties every hour. So that was the rough draft that we were asked to present today. Again, a lot of things we have to work on our side. But again, that's the bones of our proposal.
Okay. Is there anything else to add among your 4 committee members that are here?
I would say, you know, when we started this whole thing, we were asked to go through this and make a policy that would best suit it so that we could have the event as safely as possible. I think we've done that. There are certainly some things that, you know, some advice from the zoo that we would be more than happy to take to have this event go off. It's certainly going to be a limited capacity. It's not doing us any good. This is more for the community that they want something to go out and do and safely, and we can provide something that they can do safely is I think essential.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to add, you know, this is something we're taking very seriously. We don't want to just go off and have a day because we're frustrated and everything. We take this very seriously. We're working hand in hand with the fair board, trying to get some things figured out. I serve on both the JCs and the fair board, so it's something we're working very closely to do. You know, this isn't something, like I said, we're taking flippantly. We want to be able to have an event that this community look forward to every year and do it as safely as possible.
Thank you.
I would just echo what everyone else said, and that the JCs, ever since the onset of the pandemic, have taken this very seriously. Even back as early as March, we were thinking in different ways, different things we may have to prepare for. And I think we put together a plan that we think can work, and we appreciate all the feedback and support of the commissioners and the health board. But like Brandon said, we take it very seriously.
And I'd like to add just on the rodeo perspective, and there's other events that are happening throughout the state, but there's roughly, give or take a few, there's 45 rodeos in Montana throughout the summer, ranging from PRCA and NRA rodeos. And out of those 45, 30 of them, or 29 of them are still scheduled. One of them has been postponed, but they're looking to reschedule in August. So, you know, that's a good percentage of rodeos that have all been canceled. The majority of them were canceled around the 4th of July, Cowboy Christmas. So, again, this is happening in other communities with more cases than Dillon. So, I think it's completely doable. You know, if we work as a team and make it as safe as possible for everybody. So.
Okay. With that said, is there, just take a few comments, is there any questions of the rodeo committee that are pending by the board? Go ahead.
I have a question. Jason, you said 29 of 45 events are still on schedule for Montana. How many of those events have actually occurred?
8.
So there have been 8 events?
Yes, and that's, rodeo picks up, I wasn't a rodeo, Jack was a rodeo, picks up in 4th of July. So I mean, we're just getting into the busier season. Ones that were canceled were in June and May, and there's just a handful of them.
And nationwide, can you give me the same relative number of the PCRA events that occurred, nationwide? How many have gone and how many have been canceled?
I didn't total those figures, I looked just at our state, but the PRCA developed a program that I mentioned last time was Kick Open the Chutes, and there was financial incentive for committees to get the started at Memorial Day, and there's rodeos throughout the country going on with fans, without fans. Unfortunately, we're not in a financial position to have no fans. It doesn't make sense for us, so I could get those figures for you. I didn't take the time to compare.
Jason, I think it's about 75% still.
75%. So
Most of the major rodeos that have been canceled are the big rodeos like Pendleton, you know, where they draw 15 to 30,000 people. There's just no control for them, and they can't take that hit. So we're definitely not in that category where we can have a limited fan base and still put on a performance and not take a huge hit like they do.
Any other comments from the board members?
I would be curious what you think would be a plan for us to do contact tracing from that event.
And that was something that I discussed with Sue on Tuesday. I mean, we could, there's a couple options. There's ticket tracing, we could do online tickets, and you have to fill out your information. But again, if we sell 1,500 tickets, we like to keep it local, and we just print off 1,500 tickets and sell them throughout town. You know, we could fill out a questionnaire or something, but Sue's worried, I don't mean to speak for you, but was to have a, you know, at the entrance gate, you have somebody filling out a card where they're from and their contact information. It might, you know, cause a group that we are trying to prevent.
What I guess I'd like to see happen, you know, just sitting here thinking about the spectators, would be to break the fairground into zones. So you could have 5 zones as far as grandstands, the open seats next to it, and then 3 zones going around the other side. And sell 5 different colored tickets. So at least you cut that population into the 20% that was exposed by that zone. You know, and restrict those to temporary fence and have 5 different entry gates. And you're seated in your color zone.
I agree with Ben on that, and to me, the critical thing on that would be 5 different entry gates, something to try to minimize the interaction of the different groups.
And that's eliminating the online tickets. We're able to control that a lot more because we can print off 400 tickets for the grandstands, whatever that number may be. Once they're sold, they're sold. And that's where we hire security guard. If anybody's noticed, they're there to enforce it.
If you're on the phone, please
Could
be on your
somebody
phone.
mute their phone it's on the conference call? We hear you. We still hear you.
So I think logistically, that would be something that I would strongly advise, solely because it guarantees your population density in that area, and it decreases the exposure to everybody.
I think that's very doable.
Yeah.
We have enough
Very
entrances and,
Yeah.
and we can section off areas very easily.
Food and beer, how do we do
Well,
that?
that's just, that would, the food and beer would be roughly the same. If I recall from the conversation with Sue and I, you have 3 to 4 concession on this side of the grandstand, concession on that side of the grandstand, and concession in the back. And
So we have 2 on each side.
So there's 2 on each side, so that divides that. If this section goes there.
And like I said, the volunteers would be wearing masks and gloves, so there wouldn't be the, you know, contact on the products that we're
And
selling.
you talked about the plexiglass.
They'll have the skin shields.
And we'd set up on the ground best we could, probably painting and whatever we can, areas where we stand.
Yeah, we put X's there or other barriers that we can control the crowd or the lines more.
Would you consider not selling alcohol?
Well, that was, again, that's a thing we would have to decide. Sue asked that, especially for hard alcohol, we do contract out the bar and we get a sponsorship for that, but I mean, I guess if it was to not have a rodeo or have a rodeo, we would definitely not have alcohol. I mean, that, again, that was just a logistical thing we needed to figure out on our end.
That's part of the cash.
And we have, in the past 2 or 3 years, limited, you know, you used to be able to come to Dillon, that was the big thing, and buy a bag full of beer. We really cut back on that. So Sue's concern was liquor, and that's definitely something that we could eliminate.
Any other questions from the board to the director of the rodeo or committee? Excuse me. Any other questions from the conference call? Any people on the conference call have a question for the rodeo committee? I assume they hear me.
This is Kim Marnell. I have a question, please.
Go ahead, Kim.
I am wondering if the JC plans to still have ID tests.
A water check?
Oh, yeah. That wouldn't
Oh,
change. Yeah, that wouldn't
Yeah.
change. We always have ID checks, so
There's
that's.
there's always ID checks. Okay, is there another question?
I'd like to address that question, actually.
Go ahead.
This came up, this very issue that Ms. Martinell was asking about came up at the DUI task force meeting yesterday. And the discussion amongst that group, which is the group that conducts the checking, bled into this very issue of the gates and the entry and the jamming of people. That I think that with the lower number of people in attendance, the JCs would have an easier time checking IDs themselves. And we would stop that stall at the gate, the entrances where there's gonna be all the contact. So I actually think I would advise that, and I'm speaking as former rodeo committee chairman and JC president as well, that we don't have the ID checks, because that, everything we can do to expedite people getting into their seats and not having traffic jams and congregating is probably better for public health.
I wasn't having the
Check station.
set up before.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about, yeah, not having the booth, still doing the JCs would check IDs when they sell alcohol at the point of sale, but not have the pre-screen wristbands, because that's just another stall as people try to get through the line, getting in and jams people up.
Yeah.
Just reduce contact.
Yeah, I think with lower numbers, doing it at the counter at point of sale would be totally feasible.
Yeah, because you're not gonna have an extra contact for a patient.
Right.
And I think you raised a great point too, that with essentially half our sold out capacity, we're gonna have a lot less of that congregating. I mean, our concession lines will be less, and that's ties in directly to why, we know that we acknowledge that that's a very important part of this
Yeah,
plan.
and I like the idea of the color coding, entrance and whatnot, but you gotta remember you're dealing with the public, so none of them will do it quite right. So there's gonna be some hiccups, but, I think it's all you can do to get people their seats that way in line is gonna be beneficial.
Well, and we're talking about a really scaled back version of what we historically had. I mean, it's a 2-hour rodeo, so it's not gonna be, I'm not sure what the fair situation is gonna end up being, but they're not gonna be down there all day, and they're not gonna end up probably staying for a concert. I mean, it's a 2-hour rodeo that they're gonna get out. It's not a music festival, it's just a 2-hour rodeo.
Well, I think one more point, I don't think Jason mentioned this, is we are planning on limiting contestants. So that'll be two things. A, there'll be less people, less contestants that are traveling to our rodeo, and then there's also, it should reduce the duration of both performances to probably less than 2 hours.
Is there still slack associated with it?
There will still be slack, but it'll be much smaller than what we're used to having.
There's never an attendance problem there.
No. Especially if 25% of rodeos canceled across the country, they need to make money somehow.
And what would be your plan for enforcement? And I mean, not just warning people, but say you warn them and they're not listening. What's your plan there?
Well, and Sue, I asked her that on Tuesday, and we, like I said, we've hired tactical security for the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And, they would be on site to enforce, and if they violate, we will have them ask them to leave. And at that point, my understanding is no repercussions if they don't listen. We can escort them out of the property or call it fairgrounds, but there's no chargeable offense, so.
But you can't eject people just like
We
you
can
can.
eject, and we have done that in the past. That's, I would say a common occurrence, but it has happened.
No other questions from either the conference call or the board president, or anyone else? So, thank you very much for coming and all your efforts with the proposed plan, and we will vote next week on any of these proposals. They'll be reviewed and we will contact you. We plan on meeting the 17th, the time yet to be determined with everybody's schedule, but somewhere in midday. Okay, even if we work through the noon hours. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I got a question for you guys, for the JCs.
Okay.
How is this gonna affect your standing with the rodeo circuit, whatever we belong to? I can't remember now. If you don't have it, how's that gonna affect you guys for next year? Is that gonna put you guys out of the running for having one here and all the rodeo people coming?
It should, not with everything going on this year.
You guys are not gonna lose it because of this?
No.
You can shut it down. Okay, I just wanna make sure that your guys are not gonna be out in the cold.
Yeah, no, the way it works is we put in we pay our due and we've got that spot, so we don't lose it.
Yeah, the PRC has been very proactive on the COVID and the pandemic, and Yeah, I don't get any repercussions. They understand the situations are unique to each individual rodeo in town and county.
They're here to help.
Okay.
They need rodeos to happen as well.
Thank you again, and I'll ask Jason, I see the fairs here, and then I have a ground rule for in regards to the concerts. Anybody here represent the concert?
We can stay with the concert,
Yeah.
I guess. Becky is unable to get away from work, so.
Okay,
Her proposal was fairly similar to ours.
yeah, hers is, do you have a copy of that?
Yeah, it's
Well, it's the one large difference is the number here. Oh, yeah.
Twice the number.
Now, this proposal's in regards to a concert, and that the concert committee would do their diligence and propose the plan, and it's in front of, you guys have a copy? You could go.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, and present that if you don't mind. I just noticed she was missing, so go ahead and.
To be honest with you, they're virtually the same proposal, except for there's no contestants and, replace that with the band. And for it makes sense for the JCs to have a concert, we have to double the capacity of the rodeo, so we have to have 3,000.
So you're asking for, in your proposals, 3,000 per spectator
Correct.
to make it cash flow probably.
Correct.
Is there any other comments?
I personally know there's concerts going on of scales down in Texas and stuff just via, social media, and they're making it happen via, social distancing and promoting social distancing. I think it's something that we could do, our facility is big enough.
Yeah, and Texas's cases are skyrocketing too.
Yeah. Their population's also way bigger than ours.
Hi there, I have a question.
And who is this?
This is Dean, and I'm just a community member here.
Who?
With the proposals, I know that these are good proposals, which are great. And I know that there's still some modifications before the next Board of Health meeting. Is there a way that these can be published ahead of time so members like me from the community can look through the proposals beforehand?
I think when we have a final proposal, final plan, then we'll publish it on our website.
You could probably put it on the, you have a website?
Yes.
Yeah.
Website or Facebook.
If you could put it on Facebook or website, that would be helpful. Those proposals. if you-
Wonderful, thank you.
The documents already turned in are part of this minutes and record of this board, and those are publicly accessible. We could put those on the county webpage.
Something. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Sue.
Yeah, my concern, as you guys all know, is the large number. And having attended those concerts in the past, I would be extremely concerned about the alcohol, with all the college kids coming and all the people in the arena. So I'm wondering if there's a way we could not have them in the arena and do the smoking off similar to the road.
That is something we've discussed and they're trying to work through.
Yeah, because I would
A
be
plan
very
because, I mean,
concerned about-
we've talked about that as well, the standing room in the arena,
You can't control that.
Yeah, and about the best solution for that would be to panel off the arena in, boxes. Again, that would take quite a bit of work on our effort after the rodeo, before the concert, but.
Yeah, likely to have that many people, we'd be forced to use the arena for some of the attendees.
Mike.
It's been said twice now about you really don't want alcohol. I didn't see anything on alcohol in your presentation. Why?
Well, I don't think that's a scientific thing. Everybody knows your inhibitions when you drink alcohol. And your inhibitions go and you end up being more social and, haven't seen somebody, we all know that.
I got a question on the alcohol thing. So if you're gonna limit us on alcohol, are you gonna limit downtown? I mean, they're gonna leave right where we're at and they're all gonna go congregate downtown no matter what we do. So are you guys gonna do something down there? That's my question, I
That comes
guess.
up in a later discussion.
So, I mean,
The only
it's the same
thing Jason pointed out, I can recall too in the past, to get a plastic bag, and you got 4 to 6, I don't know how much fits a plastic bag. I used to, but I forgot. Anyway.
No, we limited to 6.
But would it be something, you know, somebody comes up, they buy two, one for each hand?
We've had that discussion in years past.
Take it back for one for you and the spouse you're with or something like that, limit it to that?
We've pretty much gone to.
One could argue that if you bought 6 at a time, you weren't spending as much time at the concession stand.
Well, but
Yeah, see?
But we've even talked, like, last year, we did not, like, you, one bag per person, so you know, they're not taking a bunch of beer. up.
something like that, you could just limit sales. It's just no different than, to me, the grocery store up there when they were going, the toilet paper thing. Little sign that says take one per customer, two, like that, when they walk out of there like this, it's a panic. Bars gonna go dry, I guess you said. But anyway, that's a thought, there, give that some thought, how to control it. And that'd be, there's that your own personal responsibility, and then there's the people that put it on to try to figure out how to do that. But that's one way, but that can be brought back to it. And you can talk to Sue directly after you come to a thought, and go about it that way. I see their concern with volume.
Well,
So
and
you just control volume.
hopefully you guys vote yes next Friday for us, and, I mean, we would ask and plead that you guys, you know, help us every step of the way to make it as safe and clean as possible. I mean, when I say working as a team, I think we all want what's best for the county. I mean, we work here, we love it here, so we would ask for all kinds of suggestions and help from you guys.
Well, I commend you, speaking for myself and Sue, myself, not Sue. But from our pre-meeting on this, anything that was brought up, you adjusted your guidelines to fit what was suggested, so I admire that. So anything else that comes up, call Sue or Megan or one of the board members, and it's quite a while till Labor Day.
Yeah, just like anything else that's happened over the course of this entire situation, one plan does not stick for the entire thing. So
No, the rules change.
So it will change and things will, you know, need to be adjusted, and that's just the way it is, so.
But you have a, drop dead deadline with the stock contractor, I'm sure, somewhat.
Yeah.
No, we're more on our, you know, and that's stuff that we can eliminate. Programs is our deadline August 1st.
For the program?
Yeah.
Oh, for your handout?
For our handouts. Because that's a
Getting
big bill.
concessions ordered,
Concessions
probably our
ordered.
next big.
August 1st.
But again, we've talked, I mean, the big thing I guess would be the beer, that's what they need the most notice, but if we have a late approval, we can really cut back on the beer too, so.
Yeah, and then you've got concert beer, rodeo and those guys today. And you've got that's got a date, I assume, somewhere.
Yeah, probably the sooner the better for that one.
So.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, I mean, it's worth noting, you know, the concert and the rodeo are independent of each other. I hope you guys, the board views it that way too, because we can sure host the rodeo without the concert.
There's two separate presentations, and that's what we asked for.
And downtown, I mean, not everybody affiliates the JCs with Montana's Big Two, can it close street downtown, but if that was closed at 10 o'clock when the rodeo finished, that wouldn't bother us anyhow. It's not, we don't make money off that to give back to the community, so.
Well, okay, thank you for presenting the concert plan too.
Yeah, we know that was probably a shot in the dark at this point.
Okay. Secondly, in our last meeting, if I recall, there was a comment of parade plan. We had 6, didn't we? And wasn't parade one of them? You have a parade committee as such?
I mean, the parade is another thing, I guess, that
Yeah, we have really.
they haven't really, this has been our focus of the rodeo.
Well, I don't blame you, but you still have time if you come up with something on that parade, you know, how to conduct it, make it longer, spread it out. That's up to you.
Well, I know the parade is historical probably for Dillon, but it doesn't mean as much to the JC, and I just speak for myself, but as the rodeo, and the rodeo, but.
It's up, yeah, you don't have to present it in one, but I know we listed it.
Who are the JCs usually responsible for the parade, or who does the parade?
Yes, yeah, the JC and JCs do. Yeah, they do that too also. That's why I think it was on the list.
Yeah, I think our discussions have mainly focused on these two, and in our discussions in our meetings, we've essentially, you know, No, not even thought about it, and just assumed that we would probably cancel the parade.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that could be concessions that we could make. I mean, we could,
Okay.
the concert's probably gonna shot in the dark at this point, but the rodeo
okay,
is
so
something
if-
to focus on.
With that, you know, you can come back with a formal vote from the JC, and JCs is to cancel, or come back with a plan that should come back fairly quickly to us.
I think we'd be prepared for next Saturday,
Yeah,
for
sure.
one way or the other.
You know, and then you, however you do it, stretch it out, or space it, or something like that, longer route through town, what, so the longer route through town spreads people out also. And there's no concessions or anything that goes with that. So, okay, thanks very much.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Good job, JCs.
Thanks, Jim.
Service to humanity. That's what
That's our life.
Okay, next, the Fair Board, I see Pete.
Make that maybe longer, Tom. Let's get some American Legion members. American Legion.
Pete Hansen, Keely, Rand, Jackie. Pete's the chair, and I have one copy of the fair proposal here. Quite frankly. Oh, I tried to put in there, but leaves away.
I got this one, somebody else wants this one.
You have one more? Okay. One more.
So I guess we'll start off with the arena events at the, what we're gonna have at the fair. And usually we have a barrel race on Wednesday, stock show horse on Thursday, and then we have a Thursday night roping for the high school kids. It benefits the high school rodeo association. And then on Friday, we have a little roping in the morning. We don't get a lot of contestants to it. It's a little thing I put on. It's a breakaway rope, it's called. And then we have a team branding, and that usually draws quite a few people to ride out and stuff. But we can scale that back, limit it to teams and stuff. And then the ranch rodeo Friday night. And on the, we set it up the same as we did on this team rope when we had this over the third, fourth, and fifth. Ropers got to be so far apart, only 50 in a spot. And that worked great, and we set the arena up different down there, and I think we're gonna leave it like that. I know we're gonna leave it like that too. Our 4-H rodeos can do that and stuff. They ride in the box side, and we made it so they ride out and they ride by. There's no kids going by each other, or nobody going by each other. We cut the arena down. So it worked really good on the roping deal, and I told Marvin to leave it up for whatever else we needed for. So I think we're gonna leave it like that. And as far as the contest or the people coming, the ranch rodeo is probably going to be our biggest. We'll have to mark off to the stands and stuff in the ranch rodeo.
How many people come to that?
I can't remember last year. It was very
Decent attendance.
Decent.
Nothing like the.
Nothing like your.
I bet there was 700, 800
I
people.
was gonna say there were 785 people or
That's a good guess.
something, roughly.
That was our first year.
Free admission.
Yeah, free. So that, I mean, we'd mark off the stands, like, only so many people can sit here and we'll rope it off and everything else.
Similar to what's been proposed.
Yeah, we could do something like that.
But how would you get people to just funnel into a specific area unless they had some kind of a ticket designating that they were supposed to have one zone?
So alternately, I put in here on one of the pages, we were going to visit, we haven't had a chance to visit with the JCs yet. We were going to see how all their stuff was going to go forward. But we do have an alternate plan in here to sell a limited amount of tickets of however many we decide or however many tickets are approved for that. And then we would follow whatever the JCs kind of have set up and hopefully maybe work with them to be able to use their ticketing system. So it's printed home tickets, so we don't have to worry about any you know, face-to-face stuff, the tickets, it would all be print from home and people could buy them online or
I mean, it could be a nominal fee, but that would be a way to,
yeah.
number one, control access, and number two, have at least some extent of trace backs.
Yeah.
Jackie, are fair buttons already printed?
No, we haven't done any, we haven't gone forward with any of that
See,
kind of
you
stuff.
do colors on fair buttons. The same thing. I mean, you can have 5 different color fair buttons. And that's, I mean, you hate to be, we have to be restricted. That's your zone. You know, you got a red fair button, you're in the red zone.
Say, for the next year, talking about what happens.
Any of them, I mean, everybody has to pay fair admission. You know, for, and get a
Well,
fair button.
I have that in there too, alternatively then, because I didn't know the Railroad Street and Argenta Street entrances. I didn't know how the money situation was going to be or what kind of rules are in place for that or contact and stuff. I have alternately people attending the fair will be offered the option to make a donation for admission this year. Admission fees will not be mandatory. Anyone wishing to donate can deposit their donation directly into a bucket. The person managing the bucket will be encouraged to wear a face mask and gloves.
That way you don't have the people.
You know, you don't have congestion.
Basically, you don't do a fair button essentially
Yeah.
because it's just voluntary.
Yeah, and so, you know, I thought, conversely, we thought about selling the ranch rodeo. I know it's been free in the past, but to limit that admission, have a $10 fee for those tickets or something like that. I mean, obviously, we are the same way as the JCs. We're willing to do whatever everyone thinks is in the best interests. We're completely flexible and.
The ranch rodeo, you're not gonna have people like the JCs do. I mean, that's gonna be controllable to people sitting here, people, you know, you're just gonna have to have people monitoring.
And we work with the JCs usually with the tactical force, and, you know, again, we haven't talked to them yet about this, but Brandon's pretty, open to it. You know, if we need to have the tactical force there a little earlier, we can, we have in the past, so.
Is that mostly just local people that county people coming from?
I'm sorry, well,
Last year was the first year.
Yeah.
Last year was the first year we had it.
It was
Yeah.
mostly families, local people that were already hanging out down at the fairgrounds, so it wouldn't surprise me if attendance was a little less
Yeah.
this year because not as many people are gonna be hanging out down there either, without the open exhibits and stuff.
Yeah.
And another thing, we got, the carnival's not gonna be there, so we got all that part.
Yeah, we canceled the carnival, and then also we canceled all the open class and commercial exhibitors. So those decisions were made at the fair board the other night, so we won't have that congestion.
That gives us a lot more parking.
I know when you and I talked, sorry, I'm not.
Go ahead.
There was mention of the possibility of moving the fair.
So Jackie has that in her part. I think you guys can see that if you go to the livestock show and sale plan guidelines. There is an idea floating around with 2 different time options. A time option A, which is the original time option that the fair has been established. And then the second time option is August 19th through the 21st. And I know that on Thursday, the fair board is going to be meeting with all of the district superintendents in Beaverhead County to discuss pros and cons of moving it. And the extension office will also be involved in that, as well as 4-H and FFA for those conversations, just to see what's best really for the opening of the schools and what's best to keep the 4-H and everybody kind of working and kind of stuff.
Mike? Moving it, what does that help? Moving the date to an earlier time, except, because you're already earlier than the JC stuff, so.
Yeah.
Moving it a week earlier.
We
does
haven't
that help?
established if it's helpful or not. We just thought we'd visit. It's a proposal to talk with the local school districts, which would include, Linda Marsh with the county, and then Randy Shipman.
The school would be a part of it.
Yeah.
We'll stop maybe 2 weeks ahead.
As the school made, just as you know,
No.
looking at you now, Keely, obviously. Is there any change in when the school day might start?
No, I think that they're just, working on their plans right now, and I think they're still scheduled for, I know the high school starts the same week of the fair.
Right.
And then the elementary district starts that Tuesday after Labor Day, so.
If I may. So your thought then is not have those aligned, in other words, school opening be after the fair would be, and that other option you discussed, that would be the reason for that.
Yeah, that was the potential thought there. But, you know, we also have, we're dealing with livestock, and so a lot of kids have been feeding their animals and things with a target date of, you know, September 2nd through 5th. So there are concerns, but there is discussion that we'll move around weight deadlines and things like that. But, you know, there's a finished animal, and 4-H kids, their goal, and FFA kids is to provide a top quality meat product for consumption. So we have to consider that.
That's a big change.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Then the other issue we may have is our livestock judge.
Yep.
So, you know, we've got somebody lined up for September. Can we move them to August? We don't know that for sure yet.
That's true. A lot of judges are all scheduled.
Schools should start out anyway.
Sue?
And I think we had that discussion also, even with Jason, moving it would help maybe decrease the numbers a little bit, the congestion and stuff during the rodeo, the real rodeo and all that kind of thing too, so I don't know.
Well, everything should be done. So what we're going to go toward this year, and Jackie has that written in the livestock stuff, is traditionally the animals stay there a week, and there's opportunities for spectators and visitors to come and look at the animals. So the plan this year is to weigh the animals the day that they show, the animals show, and then the members leave, and essentially they're done, and the animals are taken right away after the show.
They're going somewhere else already, don't they?
They're leaving the premise for butchering. And the thought is that on Thursday, there will be the market sheep, the market beef, and then the breeding market and breeding sheep shows and weigh-ins. And then on Friday will be all of the hog shows and hog weigh-ins. So that'll cut down, and we have numbers in there. Jackie provided numbers of how many kids are in all those projects. And
Hogs are our biggest, I think there's 80.
Largest bodies.
There's 85.
There's 85.
The thing with the hogs, which might be a possibility, if we bring those hogs in Friday morning early and weigh them. So we've eliminated all open and companion animals. So we're only going to take the primary market animal in. We may have to house them for one night at the fairgrounds because hogs are going to be really hard to sort out of a pen after the fact. And if we have to go two spots with them to have them processed, you know, like you said, dropping 15 hogs that have to go to Dell in with 85 will be really hard.
Is there? So just thinking logistically, what if the show got moved to the 19th through the 21st? It was a video auction Saturday before the rodeo. And then those kids were required to bring their animals to the fairgrounds on Sunday and distribute it to the butchers at that time. So it would get the weight, they would get that 2 weeks of weight on that animal. The kids are videoed while they're showing and just do a video sale. Because there's a lot of people that typically come to the sale that probably wouldn't be there to support it like they would before the rodeo.
As a possibility, we have part of this document is a video type of sale. So it won't be a live sale, we won't have the kids and the animals there.
We got TVs going and people on phones.
Yeah, and our idea was as those kids come in to show those animals, we'll take, you know, a 5-second clip of video and a still picture of them, and we'll use that to run the sale. We would like to still open the beef barn for that sale and social distance the chairs for the buyers that would like to be there, but we'd like to offer them 3 options. So a proxy bid, so they can contact somebody and say, I will bid such and such on animal A, and then a phone bank so that we can stream it online and we can call them in, and then the buyers that choose to be there could be there. We figure we have between 85 and 100 actual buyers that would normally show up, and we figure 25 to 30% of them will choose an alternate route.
Then we'll set a TV up on each chair in the middle, facing out, we'll have people, and we'll have the auctioneer at either side of the barn, so we can see both Yeah, bring people in.
And like I said, and at that point, we won't have family members or kids, or
No, the kids won't
we don't have
be there,
to have traffic
go
or
back.
any of those
With
things.
the beef barn empty, it's really easy.
Yeah,
Put it in the center and spread
Yeah.
it.
I think there's 16,000 square feet in the beef farm, is what we figured. And of course, you know, only buyers that come will be allowed in the sale area. The parents, grandparents, and 4-H members will be encouraged not to be in the sale arena. And I think a lot of people will take advantage of the proxy bidding. A lot of people do anyways, you know, now. So I think, you know, people will be cognizant of, you know, what's going on, and will choose that method.
Can you, I'm taking, yeah, can you, when the sale goes on through the, just a wholesale, can you watch it on your phone as it's being taken place?
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
We're hoping to
So we're trying
to figure out which
So they can-
company.
they can
So
set it
there's
up
been
on
2
whatever.
fairs so far in the state of Montana that have done that, and there's 2 separate companies, so
Yeah.
we're kind of waiting to see which one does a better job.
Show them how to do fair, or good
Yeah,
sales.
and they sold through a gentleman called Jake Collins. Great Falls is going on right now. They're selling through a different company, so we're just kind of seeing, but we have contact information for both of those.
Oh, good.
So I think we can make that happen. Our goal is though to really have it hammered down so that the kids can market to their buyers, this is what's gonna happen. So we kind of, as at least 4-H and FFA, we kind of need to know what we're going to do going forward, hopefully, you know, by the end of the month.
Okay.
Because the kids are gonna have to get on the stick, and, you know, it's part of the deal anyway.
Yeah, and fortunately, you know, we have some very good options as far as online sales and people that are really versed in the agriculture community here that can help us and guide us and, you know, make this happen, you know, very safely, get a good product out to people for consumption, and let these 4-H and FFA kids complete their projects, so.
Sales the main thing, because they put so much time and money and feed into these animals, they gotta get something out of it. Yeah.
And Jackie and the livestock committee for 4-H, they've already secured all of the processing deals with, you know, local processing plants and, you know, the butchers and things like that. So that's all a done deal, and they're ready, and they're expecting the animals and understand that they would come, with the exception of the hogs. They also have some places lined up, some ranches that will house excess livestock in case we can't get them all that day to the processors.
I envision a early sale, that could be because the packers are stuff to do. Scheduling it out Labor Day might take the cattle and hogs that are stacked up, get that out of the way. But trying to get a niche in there, there's not a packer one that's got the room, cooler space, nothing.
Yeah. So that would be the other issue with
Yeah,
moving
you
it.
We called it, Greg Schneider, Ted, and all the guys,
There.
2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Right, but we were still looking at the September date for sure at that point.
Yeah.
And I agree, I think, Tom, I don't think we could probably change that date. So then, if we did move the fair, and that we would have to find somewhere to logistically house a lot of animals, and it's just, I just don't know how feasible that would be, and then, of course, then you're,
A 2-week deal ahead is gonna make it tough on a lot of
It'd
things.
be, I'm sure that indeed, you know, if they're strangers when they come to town, you pen them up, there's a pecking order, you'll end up with some dark cutters out of there.
Especially
Especially if we
Grass
don't
will be dark
do
cutters.
it too fast.
From public health point of view, it escapes me what the difference in date would be to the advantage in terms of our decision. It sounds like it's more of a logistical thing for the schools, is that?
well, you know, and to be quite honest, nobody has really even talked a lot with the schools. It was just a suggestion that was thrown out
At the fair board.
to maybe visit with the schools and see if this would help them at all, because I think everyone wants to have
Kids get back to school.
the kids back to school and have the community safe. So I think it was just more of a thought and a brainstorm idea that, you know, we would put forward, and
But there's no real changes in terms of how it would affect our decision as a board of health.
I think it does, because that's your incubation period. So if they're exposed at fair, you're going through your incubation period before they return to school.
that was it.
That's a good point.
2 weeks instead of 48 hours.
Yeah, that was the thought, but I thought you meant like this, it wouldn't change any, you know, the way that.
Doesn't change
Yeah.
logistics.
Yeah.
Really. You know, we've already kind of eliminated camping, there won't be a 4-H concession stand or any of those things, so, the kids won't be on the fairgrounds for an extended period.
And there's really nothing for them to do there, to be honestly.
No carnival, no concession stand.
And, well, on the concession stand note for the 4-H, I mean, this is just, I guess, for general consumption, but the JCs have decided, you know, if we're allowed to proceed, anything that we make in concession stand outside of during the rodeo performance is gonna go to the 4-H since they don't get to have a concession stand, so.
And the JCs have talked about helping us out with older upstairs.
Yeah.
That's a nice idea. Just if, you know, kids are thirsty, they can slip over and get a container, bottled water, that type of thing through you. That would.
And one of the things too, I mean, these arena events, they're flexible, times are flexible, the amount are flexible, things like that. Obviously, you know, Friday's a busy day, if we need to cut something there, we can. You know, I mean, there's just a lot of flexibility. I will tell you that the Stock First show, that brings about 10 people. And probably spectators, probably another 10. So it's not a huge draw. Friday, that roping event in the morning usually brings about 30 to 40 local contestants. Spectators, again, maybe 50 to 100. I mean, yeah. The team, the Thursday night roping, same deal. You know, 40 to 45 local people, and you know.
And that's a local deal anyways, because it's for the kids, so yeah, I have a ton of watch, you know,
And I did notice too, in my, Saturday we usually have the kids stuff, but, the kids rodeo, but we can move that, and we can have that flexible, we can have that independent, because I know we talked about that, because if the JCs are gonna, if their rodeo does get to happen, you know, we wanna be able to allow them to have the full day to, you know, so our kids, a rodeo that's typically on Saturday,
we can be flexible.
we can be really flexible and have that another time.
And you can start it real early, and you're not gonna get, last year, I don't think we got the kids, did we? I think we're done by 11.
And if we don't have it this year, it's not a huge deal, so. Kids rodeo. It's just the Saturday arena events in the morning, and there's usually 50 kids that enter, and then their families. Honestly, in the past few years, the big entry has been the mutton busting and the steer wrestling, or the steer riding. So we just won't have that this year.
So that'll make it, we'll be done. If we don't have that, we'll be done way faster.
And maybe it's harder to
Takes the most
get
time.
that
That takes the time to get the kids on there and follow off.
Is there any more questions from the board here for the fair committee? Any questions on the conference call directed to the fair committee? Hearing none. With that said, I'd like admire you for putting all that information together.
Oh, it was easy, it was good. And we're flexible.
Oh, excuse me, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, Brandon, you can take this back to your committee. In the
Yes.
past, we have partnered with the JCs and Tough Enough to Work Paint Montana for the Southwestern Montana Mammography Program. I don't think we'll participate this year just because I rely on volunteers and children to go up in the stands, and for the amount of money that we make doing that, I just don't think it's worth the risk. We have other means of making money for that program, so I think we'll decline this year.
Okay.
And I didn't get, what was it called?
Southwest Montana
Mammography program through the Bear Hospital Foundation.
They're not going to participate this year. Okay. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
Like I said, we'll make decisions next week. If you have any, come back or get a final back to us as soon as you can after your notes that were taken today.
Okay, yeah, I'll be in contact with Sue and Megan, and you guys, if you have anything, just give me a call, because I have it on my computer, I've got it, so we can, Jackie and I can change her up. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Jack all three.
Just can't say no, that's all.
You make a mistake, you answer the phone, so it is. So, is there anyone else here in regards to the Labor Day events that's on a committee or something, part of the proposal, or are we summed up there? Pardon me?
The downtown deal.
The downtown deal's not here, so I'll check with them following the meeting and see how that, whether that's,
Who is they?
I don't know.
Who did
I
did
don't-
we even tell anybody for downtown that?
oh yeah, we were,
The mayor
sheriff, the mayor here was supposed
Tried
to
to
do
stick it
something.
on me,
No, well, you
so I
are the
stuck it
mayor.
on the sheriff and the chief of police.
No, but you need to be involved too.
I'll be involved. They were supposed to set a meeting up, I'm not sure if they set one up and got together with some of the downtown people. I haven't heard.
Could I ask you to check on that?
Yeah.
If you check with the sheriff and Donnie and Paul.
Could you drop
And I was
the
hoping
local?
to get a few of the bars. And
Yeah, the Tavern Association, they're been somewhat active here recently. Maybe they've got a person that could come.
And that's what we were gonna try to set up and see if they can come up. Right at the top of my head, though, I got no idea
Well,
on how you're gonna control down there when you're drinking.
well, it's hard to say, but let's
Yes.
leave that up to them. Yes,
This is Bill Knox. I can only speak for the sheriff's
can
office.
you come over this way to the mic, please?
Okay. Bill Knox from the Sheriff's Department. All I can speak to is the fact that we're going to plan for a normal Labor Day schedule. We have all the officers working night shift as much as possible, being in the immediate area of Dillon. We haven't talked to anybody downtown businesses to come up with any kind of plan, but we don't normally do that anyway.
So, well, there was, Paul mentioned doing that, and Donnie mentioned, and Mike's a player in
And I
it.
don't know where they are, Paul's out of town today, and of course Johnny's not here, so.
So we, that,
I don't
we
know,
get,
is he on the,
no.
he said he was gonna get on the video.
Neither Donnie, are you on there? Donnie, city police? No? And Paul's not
Sound
on
like
there?
it doesn't sound like he got on
There.
Jeremy was gonna be here today from the city, but they have a,
Yeah.
quite big haul to deal with right now.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Donnie's been texting me about something else while I'm sitting here.
So they got other issues.
So, and we're gonna go along as if the whole thing goes off as usual with less people, we hope. Downtown thing. I would like to comment on the alcohol sales at the fairgrounds and even downtown. You can restrict it if you want to, people that bring their own.
Without a doubt.
And maybe that's better for contact purposes, but you're not gonna reduce the drinking that goes on Labor Day, it's impossible.
Okay. Thanks. But, well, you'll check with Paul and Donnie.
I will.
See if you can do something. Okay, as far as committees, did that hit the 6 points? Did that Carmel cancellation, and the rest of the 5 are somewhat alive till we make a decision? Okay. All right. Update, I guess, at this time, we'd move into Beaverhead Hospital Providers Labor Day festivities. That's on the agenda as the third item. Is that relative to the letter that was written? Do you have a spokesman for that letter, by chance?
I'm not aware of anything to do with festivities, Brooke, unless you have something from a foundation perspective.
No.
Really, the only thing we were presenting was the letter from our providers and our administrative team.
My teen hearing, I can't hear.
I know. I'm not aware of anything.
Can you come up to the mic?
And what's your name?
This is.
This is
Dr.
Sandra McIntyre. So I'm not aware of anything related to festivities. We just presented a letter regarding the medical community's thoughts and concerns about an influx of people to our community and the risk associated to our community.
Okay.
And that letter has been, I'm happy to read that letter. I actually don't have that copy.
It's right here.
And I'm happy to read that letter. So I guess as a preamble, I want to thank everybody for all the work they've been doing. It was really very enlightening for me to hear kind of the work and the concerns that are going into this event. We all feel very strongly about it. To Beaverhead County and Dillon City Board of Health, the COVID-19 pandemic has hit our community, our state, our country, and the world with devastating health and economic consequences. This public health emergency has been well managed to date by our state and county health officials based on the scientific data that informs the recommendations for mask use, social distancing, hand washing, and avoiding large crowds, currently defined at this time as crowds greater than 50 people.
Bear Hospital and healthcare providers and administration have agreed with and fully supported local and state recommendations regarding the COVID-19 safety precautions in our community. We believe that this thoughtful stewardship by our local county health officials has in no small part afforded Beaverhead County the low numbers of COVID positive cases to date. We deeply appreciate and support Sue Hansen and Dr. Megan Evans in their thoughtful and well-informed recommendations based on the science available to us in protecting our community, our families, our friends, and our neighbors. Barrett Hospital providers and administration today are asking the City County Board of Health leadership to make some very difficult but important and necessary decisions. We believe that the Labor Day celebration in its historical format poses a significant health risk to our community, to our hospital, and to our medical community. The draw of thousands of people to our community in venues that do not encourage social distancing and with a low likelihood of mask use is a well-described scenario for transmission of the virus at high rates similar to what we are currently seeing in Texas, Florida, and Arizona. The demographics of our county are such that we have a high likelihood of death in our elderly in such a scenario. The medical data is showing us that the evolution of this illness over time is now impacting children and younger patients with severe symptoms that are debilitating and may cause lifelong chronic illness if these patients survive. We all are responsible for protecting our community. Our recommendation and request of county city health officials is to cancel the Labor Day rodeo, the concert, the parade, and the carnival. We believe the fair can be allowed with clear restrictions on numbers of people, mask use, attention to social distancing, and/or consideration of showing fair items online. The 4-H sale is a cornerstone of our community and a highlight of the year for all of us. We ask that the 4-H events go forward with attention to mask use, social distancing, hand hygiene for the judging, and recommend that the sale occur online. It is our belief that the risk of COVID-19 transmission with an influx of people to our community is too risky to allow. We are deeply aware of the economic impact of the loss of Labor Day celebration dollars, but to hold these events puts our county at risk for a potential surge, and such a local surge of COVID cases in our community would result in death. It would also mandate a second shutdown of businesses, likely for months. This second shutdown would be much more impactful from an economic and public health perspective in the long run. Based on the current science and medical data, and given the recent increases in cases in our state and beyond, the risk of such a surge is more likely than not should the Labor Day celebration be allowed to move forward as usual. The health and economic impact of such a surge cannot be left to chance. We must do the difficult and right thing now. Sue Hansen could not have been more accurate in her statement. To have a healthy economy, you have to have a healthy public. Thank you for the work you do to promote and protect our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Okay. Brooke, do you have anything on behalf of the foundation? Do you want to say anything on behalf of the Bear Hospital Foundation?
No, I just wanted to let them know we were going to decline participation this year.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next, I think we could, we could go into the community testing discussion. It's right at the top of the community testing update.
Sure. So maybe you guys have seen the big long line of cars that were there this morning. We kind of had a kind of a practice COVID testing today at our office. We had limited amount of tests, so we were only going to do it for 2 hours. I believe with the last 2 positive COVID cases we've had in 1 week, that prompted many people to believe that they needed to get a test, and we had an overwhelming response. We did have to turn people away at 1 o'clock because we needed to get ready for this meeting. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what the results come on that, but we are going to have a very large testing event on July 24th during the Dillon History Days. We're proposing that it's going to be at the fairgrounds, so we'll have much more room to allow the queuing of the cars. This event is being done through the National Guard and the state DES, and so the National Guard will actually be coming down and helping us set up. They will have staff available to help us. It'll probably be like 3 lanes, 3 testing lanes. We have about 2,000 tests that we hope to do, and we'll probably do it around like 10 to 6 or so The logistics will be worked out on Monday with the state, so I'm kind of excited for that. However, Megan and I didn't realize how hard a work that is when you're in all your garb, sitting out at 80-degree weather. You got to handle that for an hour without, before you have to take a break and stuff. So we'll have to work out the logistics on actually doing the testing for that long.
You said the 24th?
Yes, that's Friday, right? Friday the 24th? So anyway, that will be advertised, and we'll see what the response is with that. I know Madison County is doing theirs today.
Mike?
Question on the type of test, is it the one that tests for the virus itself or antibodies?
It is not an antibody test, it's a regular.
So you're just saying if somebody's infected or not, but you
Correct.
don't know if you've had it or not. Is there a plan on getting the antibody ones?
Antibody testing is available at both hospital and the community health center, but there's not enough known about it right now to use it on a wide scale basis.
Okay.
And what we would encourage if people are interested in it is they need to talk with their PCP about it. Because it's a lengthy discussion. Because regardless of the result, it's hard to say what it means. We just don't know enough about the virus yet.
Okay.
I can endorse Sue saying about being popular. I was there and turned into traffic control. They had cars back clear up to Sparky's on Atlantic Street. So, yeah, the law enforcement showed up and I helped them a little bit. But yeah, there was a lot of people interested in it.
Yeah, so thank you for law enforcement.
Well, unfortunately, for one thing, police department was completely wrapped up in the case they're working. My two deputies had to drop what they were doing because it was kind of an important problem. I think you can expect that kind of turnout anytime you're going to do testing for free anywhere. Plan for triple the number of people because everybody's concerned and worried that they might have it.
I think it'll be nice because the next one will be spread
Much better
out.
location at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, and it'll be spread out and more testing, and we'll have it figured out by then. We were pretty clumsy at the beginning trying to figure out how we were doing this. But the one thing I did want to mention on this particular testing is for people who do not have any symptoms. If people have symptoms, they need to talk to their healthcare provider. If this is for people who just want to get tested, it's asymptomatic. It's called surveillance testing, meaning that your results could take up to 10 days to get, just because they are so backed up at the state with these tests. They're sending them out now, I believe, to Colorado or someplace like that. So it could take up to 10 days to get those results back.
The one you just did today?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for Sue on the testing? Now, I did comment right at the start, Megan and Charlotte provided us with that COVID-19 in Beaverhead County overview PowerPoint, and I paused the questions and the comments or something till after we got through the committees. I would open that up for any questions or comments regarding that, and I direct them to Megan or Charlotte.
Well, I had a few questions on it. First was, you're saying that some people don't even show the antibodies, which is what I understand all the vaccines are going to work on, is trying to increase the antibodies, or they're based on the antibodies, fighting off the virus. And so if it's mutating, those vaccines that are made now ain't going to work. So truthfully, looking at the data, most likely there's not going to be a vaccine, is what I'm just seeing from your presentations. We flat out the curve. Flatten the curve out doesn't stop the virus, right? It just slows it down. You're trying to slow it down so you're not overloading everything. So instead of maybe getting it done, I don't know, 5 months, it might take 5 years now that we'll have to go through because it's all spread out. And every so often we're going to go and have to lock things down because some people go crazy because they can't handle the confinement or whatever they might be in at that point. So it's like, is that kind of what I'm hearing, how this thing might work? Or you think it's going to be done in 5 months, which we've already been 3, so 2 more months? Or what do you think?
It's really hard to say. I mean, I think some vaccines work on antibody response, but not all do. We're looking at vaccines that are using mRNA, which is not something that we've done before. It's a very new concept, but is used in other disease processes. Some vaccines affect our innate immunity, so that's like our memory T cells and things like that. That's totally different. So I don't think we know enough yet. But also I think what's important to understand is that viruses do mutate. What's good about the coronavirus is that it's fairly stable. And even when a virus mutates, it doesn't mean that its actual activity is any different. A lot of the vaccines out there are trying to make antibodies to the spike protein. That seems very stable, but other virus vaccines, are making things that bind to other parts of the coronavirus. So mutation doesn't necessarily mean that a vaccine will be not effective. It's still very well be just fine. So it's really hard to say. There's over 100 vaccines being developed right now.
Right.
So who knows?
And quite a few of them are the mRNA or.
I only know of one that's the mRNA, the Moderna one. That to me is very unique. A lot of the other ones are doing a modified virus or antibodies to spike protein, things like that. Some are using adenovirus vectors, which is something we've done before. So it's actually a pretty exciting time in the immunology, I think.
Hopefully that they will.
Yeah.
We're hoping. I hope they do. Don't get me wrong.
I hope they do too.
Just as, to go one step further in sense of trying to polish my crystal ball on what's going to happen in the future, I think we need to look at what's gone on with influenza virus as a model. Influenza virus is a much more mutatable virus than we perceive the coronavirus to be. The CDC promotes an influenza virus every year. They modify that virus annually based on this antigenic drift and antigenic shift that occurs naturally with influenza viruses. Therefore, that's why people say, oh, the flu vaccine doesn't help. Well, some years it helps more than other years. And I think one thing we might anticipate if we get a coronavirus vaccine is that even if it doesn't 100% prevent symptoms, it may prevent more severe cases. It may reduce the severity and the duration of the time that a person is sick, even if that person comes down with a certain viremia. So just to say the vaccine isn't 100%, I think we've got evidence from the influenza vaccine that we may still get protection. Will we ever reach herd immunity? I doubt it.
I think that's a good response.
When you guarantee not to reach it, spread the curve out to 5 years. You'll never get herd immunity.
Hard to say.
Yeah. So it's like, which we're just saying is we're going to have to live with this forever. Pretty much just like the flu. So we might as well stop trying to scare everybody and try to get everybody to live with it. So you're going to have to wear masks forever. You know, I've seen in your data that says the testing shows if you 3 feet, so now we're doing 6, but 3 feet lowers it down to a couple percent, if I remember right. Or 2.6.
Actually, that study showed that 3 feet was good, but 6 feet was twice as good. So.
Oh, the one was that because you had 1 meter or less, you were 16, 20%. Can't remember the numbers, all of it. But if you dropped it a little above 1 meter, which is a little above 3 feet, it drops down to 2. But I don't really know what, if they did testing at like 1 meter per 1 foot versus 6 foot or something, when they gave that percent.
If you read that paper, they do discuss that, yes, 1 meter, 3 feet is effective, but 6 feet was twice as effective, so.
Okay. Is there any questions for
I have one more.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
When they're talking about masks, what type of mask? The cloth, did they do the testing that you presented the data, or was it the N95 or full mask shield?
They're looking at everything, so it's a mixture of all of those. So in the meta-analysis, I think it was 123 observational studies they looked at, so it's a combination. So.
Okay. Yeah.
And if anyone is interested in some of those references, the longer paper that we provided to the health board that went out with the minutes has many of the references that were cited here, and there are lots more, that was not a comprehensive list, there's lots more evidence that can be brought forth.
Okay. Is there any comments for Charlotte or Megan off the conference calls? Hearing none, I heard this morning, I received an email from a fellow that wrote, I will not be attending your meeting today for various reasons. And I would like to make some comments and questions and read this into the minutes, and then sign George Warner. George, you're present. Can you read this?
Well, that's for your information.
Oh, you can read it.
That wasn't directly sent to you. That was actually sent to the Missoula County Health Board, and it got cut off on the email. So there are things in there that could be of advantage to you, but that wasn't directly sent to you.
I received two different ones in email. I received,
Correct.
George. One was a letter to County Attorney Paps, and one appeared to be a letter to this health board.
This one is the one I'm
Yeah, and that one isn't, because it got cut off on the email send, just so that you know. That one was directed to the Missoula County Health Board.
Yeah, and the other one's directed to the
The
Missoula
Missoula County Attorney.
So this one doesn't pertain to us, is what you're saying.
No, but there could be some elements in there that I believe you should review. It was for information purposes.
Would you read that to the board?
I could, certainly.
That'd be fine.
I have another one.
Well, he's got the county attorney one, but I just want that one.
Okay.
I guess I'm still confused, George. Make sure I understand. You just said to me, what got cut off by the email? I didn't understand that.
The whole addressing to the Missoula County Health Board.
So this one was to the Missoula County Health Board, not to
Both
ours?
of, yeah, that's correct. The first one was to the Missoula County Attorney, and this one was to the Missoula County Health Board.
They have different dates. This is dated yesterday, so I assumed it was for, and it says I won't be able to attend your meeting.
That's correct. And that was by video conference to the Missoula County, and it had specifically to do with face coverings and masks.
Well,
So,
yeah.
So
I
we're not
understand better.
dealing with that.
I will send that on to Missoula County. I don't want to worry
Well,
about it.
they already have it.
Okay, then I won't.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with it.
Okay, then.
I'm good at that.
And we don't need it in the record.
Okay, so that works. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, that, the top half of our agenda, we're down to discussion on action items. And old business is approval of the June 26th minutes that we all received. With that said, is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Let's see. Call for the motion.
I move we approve the minutes from said meeting.
Second. Yeah, I got a first and a second to approve the minutes of Friday, June 26th of the Beaverhead County City Health Board meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. I'm gonna give this to you this week instead of pack it back to the office. Okay. Next is public discussion comments on subjects of the Board of Health jurisdiction. I'd open that to the those in attendance today. George.
First of all, I would like to state that you guys are doing a good job for all your hard work and planning and discussion. This was probably the best discussion we've had since the inception of these meetings, so I would like to make that very clear. Secondly, I've got a statement of concern regarding what I've talked about since March 18th when we started these meetings, and that was an authority issue. To start the discussion, though, I would like to give a little bit of background as to how the interlocal agreement between the county and the city of Dillon and the city of Lima came to be. And in getting these documents, which I've asked for numerous times, the city came through and gave me the documents that they have, which is the interlocal agreement, which is the founding document of this health board, and the current bylaws of the health board. Now, how this came to be was Garth Hogland, as county commissioner, came to see me in late 2001 because the hospital administration, under private ownership, no longer wanted to fund the county health care. And we believed that that was a very important position and it needed to maintain the same practices that it had before. Therefore, the interlocal agreement was written up, signed by myself on my last day in office, along with Garth Hogland, Donna Savalstead, and Mayor Olson from Lima. I've talked to Mayor Clacken and Mayor Olson, and they are unaware of any further agreement signed by the city. So I believe this is the only one in existence. If it isn't, then my statement will be amended. But this agreement bestows no autonomous authority upon this local health board. It does not bestow the powers under 50-2-116. It is specifically, and if we need to read the entire document, we could, but I'm sure that Jed will review this, and if necessary, we'll discuss it later. But it is for health services, and it has no enforcement capability within it whatsoever. The only persons that I know of statutorily that have that authority is Mayor Clacken and Mayor Olson. And outside of that, we don't have the rules. Our bylaws are also in conflict because the bylaws state that, and I don't know how they got in there, including but not limited to powers specified by section 50-2-116 MCA. Now, this board, as it was created by both local government entities, does not have the same liberal construed laws. If there is intent in city or county ordinances because of its process, they can be liberally construed. This body, since it was created by those entities, has a literal interpretation. In other words, if it's on paper, it goes. If it's not on paper, it doesn't. The statute in the founding document allows for let me get the proper context here. To form a city county board of health under 50-2-106, and it says to implement a cooperative health program. The only other statutory reference has to do with meetings, and I'm ignoring the context of how it's put together. In other words, the election of officers, etc. That's unquestioned. It's fine. The only other statutory position under duties and responsibilities has 50-2-116, and it says specifically the health board shall hold at least one public meeting quarterly and such other meetings as may be provided for under the bylaws of the health board per. So it allows bylaws, but it doesn't allow the authority to administer legal positions. So I'm sure that it'll be well researched, and we'll get to talk about it today. I wanted to bring it up before there was action. because I do not believe you have the authority to conduct action such as shutting down this. Now, in concert with the mayor, certainly you do it within these cities anyway. So that's my position.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to this?
Sure. Certainly.
It is, I mean, even in the statutes that Mr. Warner cites, 50-2-116, it lays out the powers and duties of local boards of health, which this is a local board of health created as a city-county board of health under the local board of health, chapter 2 of the code. And it lays out a long list of powers and authorities, including the appointment of a local health officer. So where Mr. Warner is reading it, a limiting factor in the agreement he's holding in his hand, the agreement refers to the statute which lays out the powers and duties of this board, which you're acting under. If Mr. Warner disagrees, I invite him to file an injunction in district court.
That may not be necessary. I understand the Attorney General is looking at it right now. So we'll see where that goes, but I most assuredly will if it gets to that point. This is the agreement that the three bodies signed, and they were not giving up authority. The mayor wouldn't do that, I wouldn't do that. We can talk about.
I don't understand what you mean by giving up authority. I don't want to get into a dialogue and waste this board's time. But the authority of the local health board is spelled out by the legislature.
Yes, but it was created by agreement. That agreement is the governing factor as to the powers and duties. If not, all of our entities could take over statutory when they haven't been issued that authority.
I don't understand that.
Any entity created by the city or the county could take over. And that's not true.
What do you mean take over? This board is following the statutory outline.
That's right.
In the local board of health section of the code.
They were never established for that
They certainly
purpose.
were. I disagree wholeheartedly with you, Mr.
Well,
Warner.
okay, then we're gonna have some talk.
I can't wait.
That'd be good. Thank you.
You have something to add?
I do, I just want to go on the record of, I respectfully disagree with everything you just said. We've had training through the state of Montana, several times on the Board of Health authorities. And, every county is required to have a Board of Health, so I'm not understanding where you're coming from too. So I just want to go on record.
Please go on. And you, I gotta move on. So,
That's fine.
thanks, George. Okay, next, any other public discussion or comments in the room or on the conference call? Sue?
Okay, I was just thinking this, and I know some of the other health boards have done this. I'm getting a lot of people that are submitting plans for me to review, and I'm getting a little overwhelmed with it. And I know that some of the Board of Health has made a criteria of if it's a gathering of like over 250, the Board of Health would review those plans. Or, you know, some are numbered, so I'm not reviewing all these plans right now. We're sort of, obviously the large gatherings are very, very large gatherings we're looking at, but I'm wondering if we could have a discussion on that. I know that would be a lot on the Board of Health's plate as well, but well, I can get innovative with them.
And very, very, very much there's a difference between gatherings, type of gathering, location, indoor, outdoor. They would vary in complexity, I guess,
Yes, they
is
do.
the word. So go ahead, Charlotte.
Is there any possibility that, based on the number you've had, that the Board of Health could post some general recommendations for gatherings of X number of gatherings of this or that? Is there any way we can just make a template to eliminate most of those questions?
It would be nice. I mean,
you know, you don't have to recreate the wheel every time. You know, I'm sure a lot of the same questions are being asked. So, you know, in the case, I mean, a lot of what you went through with the large gatherings, you know, the rodeo and so forth. But just in terms of smaller gatherings, if we just say, you know, all visitors are required to do this, you know, gatherings of just set up a template and just basically hand them a paper so you don't have to review every single one. Would that be a possible thing?
So we would review them, so I guess, and I don't think people will submit them if we're not saying anything. We're getting a lot that aren't getting submitted anyway, but I don't know. I'm just getting tired.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. But I mean, are they submitting plans because they want to be in our good graces, or are they just really needing to be educated on how to handle a gathering of 49 or less people?
Well, no, they're submitting plans because the governor said anything over a gathering of 50 people, and where social distancing cannot occur needs to be go through public health. But I do know that Lewis and Clark said they are not approving any plans over a gathering of 50. They're being very
well, that would be an easy way to solve it.
Yeah, and they're doing just the same thing you're saying. They're just giving them guidelines, but they're not approving anything.
You know, if it's a gathering over 50 people, that, to my knowledge, that right now is going against the governor's guidelines. And so you could just say, you know, gatherings over 50 people are not authorized under current state guidelines. And, you know, because it puts you in a position of, I'm using that term generically, it puts the public health in a position of somehow condoning these larger groups, and I don't really think we want to be perceived as doing that, because we're not really in favor of those.
Mike, it's been so long on the governor's thing, but I think he said should, but not shall, correct? On having the Board of Public Health check it. I can't remember, but I thought he said should. And the gatherings, I thought that was also a recommendation, not as you can't have over 50.
We could.
Correct?
We're here in a week.
And that's why I said, put a suggestion into the agenda of what you think it should be, and then let's look into what the governor
Just
said.
actually look at the way it's worded. Because I've been there. One word from Jim was really, you know, we might as well postpone it. We'll go back and forth. I don't either. That's what I say. Till it's reviewed, we're all just kind of guessing.
Yeah.
Did you say you had it on the next agenda?
Yes.
Yeah, just discussion on whatever, however you want to word it.
Because I think so then that would say people, like the rodeo, the JCs have been so good about trying to work this out. If we say that, then they just do their.
So my recollection, and that's a terrible resource, of course, anyone's recollection is, but that the governor said groups over 50 need approval.
Yeah.
And so that's why the JCs, and of course, because they're community interested, are seeking this cooperative agreement. But, you know, you got a group of 60 at a family reunion, that starts to be a big obligation for you, so
That's
I understand
the difference in advance is huge, or what it is. How movement of people happen in different events, as you pointed out. So, anyway, add that to some kind of discussion next week. As far as the governor's guidelines, just put that. Till we have those read.
The discussion
We
could
know
have,
specific what the wording is, we don't have anything really to talk about.
right, and the discussion could be, is like, they said gatherings that cannot practice 6-foot distancing. So right there, you're asking them to make a decision, are they practicing 6-foot distancing? So I can have 600 if I'm in a building that's 5 acres, okay? If I have 500 people, and I don't have to ask you guys. By their, you know, so that's where you got to really start to find details on how you're going to do it.
Find details.
that's where the confusion came as well, as I recall again, from if you have 50 people but can't social distance, do you need, and so then can you have groups of 50 that are 6 feet apart? And that
Maybe
was,
you don't have to ask. What I read the governor
right,
said,
but that was sort of one of those things, the letter and spirit. You have a group of 50 all huddled together, and then 6 feet away another group of 50 huddled together. That wasn't what the directive intended either, so. That was
I would get kind of touchy on what did the governor, so now we're thinking on what did the governor mean when he wrote it? That's where laws really get touchy.
That's why they have courts.
We got to get a hold of the guidelines
do it every day. We ask what did Madison mean? He wrote, you know, the amendments to the Constitution. We're still fighting about that.
Well, I think the other point too, though, is that I think we're gonna be overwhelmed soon. I think we're very, very busy, even with having just the 2 cases and doing the contact tracing associated with it. I think we need to work on streamlining things, and I also think we need to support Sue as much as possible, because she can't do all this without a lot of support from the community.
Wait to review
Yeah.
next week, next.
I know, I'm just trying to say that it's gonna get a lot harder, I think, as we get more cases.
I'm assuming this is done for now, and bring it back, so we can change subject on public thing. Just curious, the 2 cases, one Big Sky, one wherever, you really don't tell us much. I'm not asking names or that much, but I'm gonna ask, if you guys looked into it, did they wear face masks? Either one of them? Or were they going without, were they practicing safe distancing?
No.
No, okay.
Okay, with that said, like I said, we'll review that a little next quarter. Next on the agenda is meeting schedule, next regular meeting, next Friday, July 17th in Dillon. What time?
Originally set it to 11.
11?
Is what it was set last meeting.
11 o'clock. Is somebody on? Somebody on the conference call. Somebody turned on their phone. I think it hung up, maybe.
Maybe.
So 11 o'clock on next Friday?
11 o'clock here at the
Judge can cut him off.
You're better.
That's all I can do.
Yeah.
Just tell him he's doing it somehow. Some of the Zoom calls have been not the judge, and so just turn somebody off.
It'll be here in this, here, again.
I thought they were supposed to look into it and verify the rooms open.
Yeah.
That was at last meeting, huh?
We'll do that, see if something has came up on the schedule. We'll be here at 11 o'clock. Next Friday. And I thank all that who came in and attended.
Thanks, Tom.
You bet. Have a good week here.
I don't have any idea who is all on there.
Asked, I guess.
Oh. Can you guys sit on the conference call? Please state your names one at a time. Kim, I know you're there.
Nicole is there.
Tim Martell here. Okay, Nicole?
06, where you'll find unique vintage and contemporary goods. Products like autographed celebrity memorabilia and framed vintage posters. We also have a magic shop where you'll find the new children's book, Marvelous Marvin's Magical Moment. At Emporium 406, you'll also find a full line of made in Montana products and home decor. Items such as painted windows, barnwood and tin goods, fleece blankets, designer pillows, jewelry, small furniture, and so much more. Emporium 406 at 23 South Idaho Street, Dillon's premier Made in Montana gift store. I'm Ron Carroll, owner of Emporium 406, where you'll find unique vintage and contemporary goods. Products like autographed celebrity memorabilia and framed vintage posters. We also have a magic shop where you'll find the new children's book, Marvelous Marvin's Magical Moment. At Emporium 406, you'll also find a full line of made in Montana products and home decor. Items such as painted windows, barnwood and tin goods, fleece blankets, designer pillows, jewelry, small furniture, and so much more. Emporium 406 at 23 South Idaho Street, Dillon's premier Made in Montana gift store. I'm Ron Carroll, owner of Emporium 406, where you'll find unique